Good morning, Hugo Sandel from Real App Systems. What I'm going to do today is to take you through simplified due diligence, which is commonly referred to as CDD, being client due diligence if you like. But this is the simplified version, which is what you will be faced with on a day-to-day basis in the normal action of your business as a licensee salesperson. You would have heard many times KYC, know your customer. And the process here is incredibly simple. So you must understand that it is a process, but it is very, very simple. The three main categories that you're going to come across effectively are individuals, companies, and potentially trusts as well. The first one, individuals, you are able to do all of the due diligence that is required under the Act face-to-face with Mum and Dad, Joe and Margaret Smith, who are across the table from you at their house in 36 Bellbird Avenue in wherever that is. This is really simple to do. Companies, trusts, cooperatives, societies, partnerships are all in the domain of your money laundering compliance officer. So we're not going to drill in that and get involved in that at this stage. That is a separate module altogether. And the biggest risk, as I've just alluded to really, are those entities like companies, trusts, and particularly dodgy individuals. So you must be absolutely certain when you are signing up clients so that you can get on to sell a property for them that they are bona fide, that they're true to their word and pretty much good to go. But if there's anything that is not quite right, you need to be very mindful of that and be able to record that. So here we are with one individual, John Smith, for example. CDD must be completed on all the individuals on the title. In this case, it's just him. So we want to know his date of birth, proof of address, and be able to substantiate his identity. And that is the same for John and Ann Smith. CDD must be completed on both individuals, not one of them, but both of them. Date of birth, proof of address for both, and again, must be able to substantiate their identity, right? You just can't do one, you have to do both, all right? So that is really important to understand. Now, to expedite this process, the critical path, if you like, is that, or the fastest way to do it is using a passport. That would be the first question I would always ask a potential client. Do you have a passport with you? And if they say yes, you are way ahead of the curve. And I'll come back to the passport in a second. The other options, which are basically a one-step process, and not only include the passport, but firearms license and identity cards. So a New Zealand government identity card will suffice perfectly. At the moment, I believe firearms licenses are still acceptable, but I would probably not use that as a preference, given the tragic events that have occurred in New Zealand and the firearms licensing, which is currently under review. So I'd probably bypass that. So look for a passport or a New Zealand identity card. And if you've got one of them, you don't need any others. However, in the event that they have a driver's license and nothing else, then you must have one of the following below that, which is a Super Gold card, New Zealand bank statement, a government agency card, or a New Zealand student identity card. Now, if they turn up and say, look, we've got a birth certificate, all right, then again, that must be associated with one other form of identity. That is a New Zealand driver's license, an international driver's license with the international permit attached to it, an 18+ ID card, armed forces ID card, police ID cards, Super Gold cards, student Real Me ID, and or a utility statement. So they could have a birth certificate and a utility statement. That would be absolutely fine. Whatever it is in those option 2 and 3, the driver's license or birth certificates must be accompanied by one other option as well. So don't think you're just going to get one of them and cut through, because your MLCO, if they're doing their job properly, will pull you up on that. And it is important to understand that you are responsible. This is your responsibility to ensure that you meet the requirements laid out under the Act. So there's option 1, 2, and 3. Just going back, passport is the fastest way to get it done. So it's the first question you would always ask. Moving on, the areas that need to have attention paid to are that you must cite the passport and or any other cards or documents that are going to be used in the process of identifying your client. You must visually check the image, look them in the eye across the table, and know and understand that the people that are sitting opposite you are absolutely those people who are on the title, and this is the residence that you have got connected with a utility statement or whatever, so there's no other further issues to be concerned about. You must record the details, however. So if, for example, that you took an image of the passport, make sure that you get the centre page with all the details on it, and you would ordinarily lie that on a piece of paper and write underneath it, I have cited this passport, and to the best of my knowledge, this is an authentic and genuine document, and you would sign it beside that and take a photograph of it. Now, you might think this is a wee bit over the top. However, in the fullness of time, if something derails or goes wrong, they're going to come back and ask to have a look at the records. This will be the DIA potentially, and then they'll search for the salesperson, and you're culpable along with the MLCO for breach of compliance. It's very easy to get it right, so don't hesitate to make sure that you capture the information correctly. The driver's license must be recorded on both sides, and the image of the utility statement is required for the proof of address. So all of these things have to match up, right? So in the fullness of an investigation, everything must link up. So the proof of address, date of birth, the full names of the people that you're dealing with, and that you've got absolute, solid material to prove their identity, be it a passport, driver's license, or whatever. All right, so once you have done that, look at the little hack at the bottom here. It says, once the images have been supplied to administrator, you must delete from your devices promptly because you are not at liberty to hold that information. Okay, so don't forget that. Areas that really should have another level of, general attention. Has the property been tenanted? How long have the current owners lived there? What are the nature of the sale requirements? Why are they selling the property? And these are things that you just need to be mindful of, because we do know that there are individuals out there now who have multiple properties, who are trying to shift them quickly, and if they are looking to accept a lower price, your antennae needs to be going up and asking internally, why is this happening? Your eyes need to be open, you need to be aware, and if you're unsure, you need to talk to your compliance officer. Prior relationships. Many of us have had existing clients going back decades, and they come back and it might be their children coming to you and so forth and so on, saying, look, we want to buy, we want to sell, and so forth and so on. And if you're involved in that transaction, make sure that you record the background information so your MLCO understands what that is. They could be friends of yours, and other questions that you might just ask, have they been traveling? Now, if these people have actually spent a period of time in, Panama or the Ukraine or Turkmenistan or whatever. There's many countries that are on a list which are definitely dodgy. Now, you would need to record that information on notes, and if you're unsure about something, talk to your compliance officer. You should take good notes, all right? Make sure you take plenty of notes, and preferably digital ones, because if they're not in digital, it becomes discretionary, the accuracy is not always there, and if you're investigated at a time down the track and you don't have good notes, you're not going to look good. That I promise you. In summary, when CDD has been completed, you can proceed to do the agency agreement, and you can actually then pretty much, you're good to go. Once it's filed with the MLCO, unless there's anything unusual about it, you would be in a position to continue with the commencement of service. That is, the agency agreement then commences, and your interaction. And during the marketing phase, if there's anything that is unusual, make sure that you note very clearly, very carefully, what those unusual activities might be. And there's many and varied. Now, if there's any reason to think that there's drugs or illegal firearms or any illegal trading of any goods and services that may potentially cause a reason for alert or alarm, you need to be talking to your MLCO to discuss the situation, because again, if it ends up being a full circle of complicated and obfuscated transactions, you potentially will be liable. So you must be vigilant at all times to make sure that you are way ahead of the curve with all of the different people that you're dealing with. Once the sale is completed, the AML for the buyers is completed by the lawyers, so that is one thing that you don't have to worry about. There is some reason for confusion at this point where salespeople think they have to do CDD on buyers, but they don't. That is generally business or the practice of the lawyers deal with that side of it. Next steps, make sure that all of your data is deleted from your devices. Make sure that you report to your MLCO. You know your compliance officer and who that is. And if there are any unusual activities, you better have a chat to them. And make sure that you keep really good written notes of meetings, appointments, inspections. And again, digital is forensic, handwritten is not. So choose your options. Real-app systems provide an extremely good platform to record and be able to do your client due diligence face-to-face with your potential clients. Goals in your real estate business, I think you need to just know the process. Once you know the process, effectively everything else falls into place. You will just automatically know your customer, get to know your customer just through asking some questions, and be prepared for changes. I can absolutely guarantee you that this act or the requirements that have been prescribed by the DIA will change. Your MLCO should be ahead of that, but it does not hurt for an individual licensee salesperson to be prepared and have some knowledge of how this whole thing is operated and what the potential risks are should it go wrong. So that's us. That's the end of the presentation today, and we do hope that this has been useful. Should you like to reach out to us, realapp.nz or Hugo on 021 64 64 50. And it's been a pleasure to discuss this with you today. Have a great day. Thank you.